Welcome everybody to today's webinar. We are so excited, and I apologize for a little bit of technical difficulty. I am Kaylee Wallstad, a National Sales Director with ACEDS. Very excited for our webinar today, which is Doing eDiscovery Yourself with Gartner's #1 rated end-to-end EDRM solution. We are so excited to learn more about Zylab's SaaS-based tools, which we are a huge fan of. Zylab's cutting-edge eDiscovery tools easily auto-redact. They have super fast processing, powerful advanced search techniques, and you can even search audio files and much, much more. It is my distinct honor to introduce Jan Scholtes of Zylab and to thank you for partnering with ACEDS as a Platinum affiliate. We are deeply grateful. Jan Scholtes is PhD, Chairman, and Chief Strategy Officer at Zylab. Jan, before joining Zylab, was a lieutenant in the Intelligence Department of the Royal Dutch Navy. Jan holds a Master of Science degree in Computer Science from Delft University of Technology and a PhD in Computational Linguistics from the University of Amsterdam. As of 2008, he holds the Extraordinary Chair in Text Mining from the Department of Knowledge Engineering at the University of Maastricht. Paul Easton is also a presenter today and is the Managing Director of Global Colleague, an international consulting company specialized in managed services, e-discovery, information governance, legal hold, and litigation support. Paul spent the majority of his legal career helping corporate legal departments and the law firms that serve them manage complex e-discovery solutions throughout the United States, Taiwan, India, and Europe. We're excited to have you here, and without further ado, here you go.
Thank you, Kaylee. We're very happy to be here again, and thank you for organizing this. We're very happy to present our SaaS solution today, which we've been running for quite some while now in different territories, and we're also running this in the United States because demand has soared for this kind of technology. So what you see now is our agenda. We'll have an agenda where we're going to first talk a little bit about some of the fundamental problems that everybody suffers from in eDiscovery, data-related problems, and how we can solve those with SaaS, and actually why SaaS is more or less the preferred solution for many of these e-discovery problems, and I think ultimately most e-discovery problems. We're going to talk about hybrid e-discovery, which is a solution that we offer based on both on-premises and SaaS technology. I'm going to talk a bit about the benefits of eDiscovery-as-a-Service compared to the on-premises solutions, and we want to focus more on what we've called do-it-yourself e-discovery, allowing people to be fully in control of the whole e-discovery process, and also eliminate as many third parties as possible, so you don't have to wait for anybody, and you can be really fast and start reviewing and analyzing early case assessment as soon as possible. That's only possible with very high levels of automation, so we're going to discuss this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paul, who's going to give us a number of examples of use cases which we've deployed in our Zylab SaaS solution in the past. So the trouble with eDiscovery, next from a lot of other legal issues and other issues and distraction, there's a couple of really basic fundamental problems in eDiscovery, and one of the biggest problems is that it's very unpredictable by nature. You never know what you're going to get, you never know how much data you're going to get, you never know what it really will be about, you never know what the required IT resources are, and as a result, such resources and also litigation budgets are impossible to plan. As a result, not many organizations see the economics or the return of investment of investing a lot of money in buying very large, complex eDiscovery on-premise installations or starting expensive internal IT projects, because it's something which is unpredictable. It's for a lot of companies not strategic, and these are more incidents, and you don't want to set up infrastructure for incidents. Incidents is something which you typically want to outsource. Now the problem is that we've done that for 15 years now, and the cost of outsourcing the entire eDiscovery project is getting very, very high and outrageously large. So this is why we've been trying to get control over our data in the past, I would say, probably 10 years. Now what we're offering is a solution where you can actually use SaaS technology whenever you have an incident, and if you don't need it, you don't pay anything. And then you can immediately start working, do it yourself, be in control, so don't depend on a third party, and make sure that the time gap between identification and review gets shorter, because that's one of the other problems. Between the time that data is identified, and traditionally law firms or in-house lawyers could start doing reviews or early case assessment, was way too long. Sometimes weeks, sometimes months, and in today's legal climate, even days is too long. So you want to do this immediately. And then there are way too many manual steps. There's not enough automation. Each of these steps, especially if the data has to be transferred from one system to the other, requires inclusion and exclusion reports, legal opinions, and that all makes it very expensive. Now, for this, eDiscovery, and in particular, eDiscovery and do-it-yourself SaaS are a natural fit. And I strongly believe that in the longer term, the majority of all eDiscovery software will be SaaS-based, and this is also something we hear from Gartner. Now, one of the things that we offer is what we call hybrid eDiscovery, because with our hybrid eDiscovery solution, we can address all these different aspects. Because what we see today is that a lot of data is in the cloud. Microsoft 365 offering is so good that many organizations are moving into the cloud. And here again, predictions from companies like Gartner is that in a few years, the majority, or maybe almost all of the corporate data, for some exceptions, will be in the cloud, and especially the email, which is #1 eDiscovery resource, and SharePoint will be in the cloud. Now, what you can do is you can install the Xylab software or use a SaaS solution in Azure, in your own Azure, or Azure from a service provider. But there will always be also local data resources from which you want to collect as well, or where you maybe want to do some processing and then upload the results of the processed data or the first called data or data after the first pass review to a cloud-based or another solution. And there will also be data from a lot of other cloud locations. Now, the reality is that in the future, we will not all be on premises. We will not all be in the cloud. We will not all be in Office 365. But there will be a period where our data will probably be everywhere. It's partly on-premise, partly in several private and public and various cloud locations, social media. Of course, there's a lot of telco devices, mobile devices, bring your own devices, and there's an Office 365. So we need to be able to run our eDiscovery also in all these different environments. And you don't want to port data from one environment to the other all the time. So you want to do as much as possible there where the data is. Okay, let me take you to the next slide. So this is what we call hybrid eDiscovery. And it's our very flexible, elastic solution to deploy and balance cloud and on-premise resources so that you have as little bottlenecks as possible. Now, the benefits of using a SaaS solution for eDiscovery are multifold. Most important, there's no upfront investment or complex IT project that you have to worry about. You pay for what you use. If you don't use it, you don't pay for it. And since eDiscovery mostly are incidents, and incidents can even be projects that come up like every 2 or 3 months, but it's not like, for most organizations, it's not like a constant process they have to deal with. So this is a reason why eDiscovery is much more related to SaaS than we would expect. You can easily scale it up as you go, especially in Azure. We are extremely flexible because our architecture is fully elastic, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. You can upload your data, and one of the benefits with our SaaS solution is that we'll be waiting for your data. As soon as you upload your data, we will automatically start processing it based on a number of settings. You have to define only one time. And then already in a couple of minutes, you can start reviewing your data. And this is extremely, very high productivity. If you don't have to wait for weeks before a third-party vendor has processed your data and culled it and put it on a review server, you can immediately start working on this. We've had clients who uploaded 250 gigabytes during the night, and then the morning the entire data set was processed and ready, and they could start reviewing. The other advantage is that you always have the latest technology and the required expertise, so you don't have to install updates, which is a general advantage of SaaS. You don't have to worry about staffing challenges because all you have to do is upload the data, all the processing is taken care of, and then all you have to worry about is a first pass review, or if you do have staffing challenges, then it will probably be in hiring the reviewers, but also there we try to accelerate the review process by using as much automation as possible. And you can manage a project as much as possible yourself, and that's a major advantage, not only from a cost point of view, but also from a prediction point of view, because you know exactly what's going on and you don't depend on any third parties. Now, a lot of organizations in the past, why they did not want to go into the cloud was because of security. They said, well, is my data safe in the cloud? It's much safer when I keep it on premises. What we've seen in the last couple of years is actually that security is often much better in the cloud than with on-premise installations, especially if you keep your server in a locker room somewhere in your office. Then cloud security definitely is not only technically better secured, but also physically better secured than most office locations. Cloud providers often, or most cases, offer much better cybersecurity because they can share the costs of expensive security hardware and software, and penetration testing and other requirements under the several ISO standards that are in place among different clients. And so security, and if you look up Microsoft in Azure, all the security certifications that Azure has, you will be surprised. It's like a very, very long list of all kinds of national and international security requirements and certifications, which will cost you a fortune if you have to obtain that yourself on premises. Also, cloud providers often guaranteed uptime by creating redundant hardware and software in a virtual environment, which is also much more cost effective than when you have to do this on premises, because on premises you have to buy several different physical servers, where if you have a cloud solution, you can just create a number of virtual machine environments in the back, including the software, including a full redundant installation, which can pick up whenever you need. So uptime is often much higher for a much lower price than if you would have an on-premises installation. Now in Azure and Office 365, we have a great combination, and we've been working with Azure for a long time now. And as you may know, Azure is the infrastructure as a service that Microsoft provides, in addition to the 365 installations. Now in 365, you have your Word, Excel, Office, email, SharePoint, file share, everything, and typically this is where most organizations are now migrating their corporate Office data to. Now, next to every Office 365 installation or Microsoft data center, there is also an Azure data center. And in Azure, every client or every company can get certain disk space or certain machines. Just go online, say I want to have a 16-core, 32-gigabyte machine. You pay with your credit card, and it's deployed. And we can install we can install our software from images immediately on those servers. You can also set up a more complex environment where you can have, for instance, 20 machines for processing, because you need to do a lot of processing in a very short time. And you have a number of machines for reviewing or production. And depending on your resources, we can scale both horizontally and vertically with our software, depending on what the hardware offers. And we can even add processing cores dynamically when you're processing data and you see, well, I'm not going to make it. I need to add more data for my processing. What you can do is you can spin on these additional resources so you can process your data faster, make your deadline, and then when you're done, you spin them off. And the nice thing in SharePoint is, or in Azure, is that if you spin these machines down, you don't have to pay for them. And that makes it very easy to set up a very, very high volume processing and analytics and review installation, and just use the resources that you need by spinning on the machines that you need. Azure also has blobs. Blobs are binary large objects, areas where you can store a lot of data very easily. And Microsoft has very fast upload links into these blobs. And by using these blobs, you can very quickly upload data from other resources, local PSTs, or maybe other data into Azure. So if you decide not to process them on premises, you can also upload them into these other areas much faster. This, of course, is a personal choice that everybody has to make, every company has to make. I can imagine if you have very, very confidential information, you probably want to do the processing on premises, and then do a first pass review, and then only bring up in your other more, the bigger Azure installation, if you run it there and you do the final disclosure from there. Once you know that you're not going to upload anything which is sensitive or not relevant. Yeah, if you don't have those issues, you can also decide to install your eDiscovery software that you're going to use only in Azure, and then upload your data, everything to the cloud. Now, the good thing about Azure being in the same data center as the Office 365 is that there are very, very fast lines between the Azure deployment and the Office 365. So if you have to take a lot of data out of Office 365, you can actually do that very, very fast and much faster than downloading all the data first to an on-premise installation, which is how people typically work. And then you can do all kinds of different integration with the on-premises installations. So like I said, the big advantage is the ability to scale machines up and down, as you will. This is how you can perfectly deal with the data that you have in eDiscovery. You can perfectly deal with the problem that you do not always know exactly what type of data you have, so you don't also always know in advance what type of processing is required. And if you have any workflows or iterations that you need to make, you can easily do them because by using this very flexible architecture, you can use some extreme load balancing and very, very flexible resource allocation to prevent bottlenecks and deal effectively with what we call, the data wave in eDiscovery. What we've always done as iLab is we've been a very big promoter of automation in the eDiscovery process. And we have added a lot of automatic technology to automatically classify, analyze, categorize, redact information as much as possible. And what we've done is that we've integrated as much of this technology, and we are on an ongoing basis also adding more and more technology and management services and reporting, so our clients can do as much do-it-yourself eDiscovery as possible. And this will help them to do a lot of work. Now, we know there are always special requests, and this is where we differ from other vendors. If you have a special request from a general cloud provider, it's always very hard to get them on the phone and have somebody to help you. What we do is that we also have this professional service team, which is very, very happy to help you, or we have partnerships like Global Colleague, where Paul will tell you more about, which are very happy to help you and do additional requests and help you with managed services where you want. But if you want to do as much as possible yourself, then of course you're more than free to do that. So this is an interface we're going to release next month in our SaaS environment, where we have this upload interface. It's very similar to how interfaces look in Office 365 in the Microsoft environment, and you can just upload PST files or assign custodian names, add some additional information, indicate where the data is coming from, upload files in different file formats or different other legal, industry standard legal formats, and then you know how far it is with respect to the processing and how much is uploaded and when you can expect the data to be ready for review. Now, what kind of automation are we talking about? And if you're interested, you should go to our webinar from last month where we talked about artificial intelligence, because that's actually where we discussed all these levels of automation in full detail. But our automation focuses around 3 teams. One team is that we do very advanced, very deep processing, so it allows our clients to do the most aggressive culling as possible without getting in trouble. And then, so we allow you to do deduplication, we allow you to deal with compound and compressed file formats, deal with embedded objects, OCR non-searchable data in hundreds of languages, make audio files ready for search, identify audio files, everything. And we call that deep processing for maximum culling. The second team is early case assessment, and we all know how important this is, because the faster you can do an early case assessment, the faster you can assess what the complexity of a case is and how much resources you need to allocate, both human resources and IT resources. So what we do is we build email threads. We show you which custodians or emails are missing. We do a lot of deduplication, near deduplication, advanced text mining, enriching data. We make semantic summaries, entity extraction. We do a technology-assisted review with document classification, and we do topic modeling. All of these allow you to do early case assessment very quickly. And then finally, the third team is around review accelerators. The review is being the most expensive process, parts of the eDiscovery process. We want to accelerate this as much as possible. So this is where we use everything that we've done in the deep processing and the analysis. So we have dashboards, we can do different tagging workflows, we can do assisted review using artificial intelligence, machine learning techniques, we can do machine translation, we can do manual automatic redaction and generate all kinds of file formats or production formats automatically. So these 3 teams, we are constantly adding levels of automation. And the idea is that this is how our screen looks once you start reviewing. We will give you the full overview. As a result of it, you will get full control over your data. And we try to do as much as possible of this type of classification. So you are constantly in control of your data. You know how much you've done. You know how much you still need to do. And this is all in combination with very, very advanced search and very advanced other technology. So here's a screenshot of our automation. One of the automations, the auto redaction. This is becoming more and more important also for any organization that also has subsidiaries in Europe. The global data protection regulations, the GDPR, are coming up very quickly. That's another webinar we did 2 months ago. If you want to know more about it, it's recorded and it's both available on our website and on the ASET's website. And auto redaction is very important. And what we do is we do not only do auto redaction here, but you can also create aliases for certain names. So if you need to disclose data to a regulator from Europe, instead of using the European name, which is actually illegal under the GDPR, you can refer to Mr. 1 or Mr. 2 or Mr. ABC, and whatever pseudonym you can use then and refer to those. So that kind of keeps you compliant in both jurisdictions. Okay, so I want to talk now how we have deployed this technology in North American markets. We have a partnership with Global Colleague for quite a while now, several years, and what we do is that Global Colleagues is not only providing our technology in a SaaS environment, but it's also offering additional managed services, and it provides a very high level of uptime and quality for our SaaS environment. Paul, are you already online? I see you're still muted.
All right, I think I'm off mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're off mute now. So I hand it over now to you for a couple of use cases.
Sure, thank you. For 7 years, Global Colleagues has been helping companies with their information governance challenges. We have a strong emphasis on analyzing data. Global Colleagues selected Zilab not only for its powerful features and user-friendly interface, but also in addition to on-premises installations, it allows us to offer our clients scalable Microsoft Azure cloud-based hosted solutions. Go to the next slide.
Yep.
The security, the high availability, the scalability of Zilab in the cloud makes it an appropriate solution for any eDiscovery project. Now, I can't cover every scenario in this presentation, but there are several use cases I'd like to highlight where Zilab in the cloud has significantly improved the effectiveness and efficiency of eDiscovery for our clients. Next slide.
Yeah. There we go.
I'd like to start with internal investigations, because that's often overlooked, but at least for many of our corporate clients especially, much or most eDiscovery is conducted before a case has been filed. Internal investigations can include anything from responding to compliance helpline complaints, to HR investigations into harassment claims, to audit conducting investigations into suspicious financial transactions. Nearly every internal investigation today is going to require analyzing electronic data. Yet proper eDiscovery using appropriate processes and technology is often not conducted in these internal investigations, and there's several reasons for this. First, the potential cost often dwarfs the perceived value or risk of the matter. Some investigations can involve individuals spread across multiple countries. Foreign language issues are common. Also, the amount of data may contain records relevant to the investigation can easily go into the hundreds of gigabytes or even terabytes of data that you need to sift through. Traditional approaches can easily run into the six figures. At the same time, those conducting the investigations are often under severe time pressures. Delays in the investigation can lead to further losses to the company, increased litigation risk, and increased chances that those under investigation may be tipped off. Traditional project-based eDiscovery with outside vendors is usually slower, and the more outside resources are involved, the greater the chance of raising the suspicions of those being investigated. Finally, companies may determine that there's no legal obligation to collect and preserve data in the initial stages of an internal investigation and rationalize that the expense of electronic discovery is unwarranted. Now, I think this is a dangerous attitude. Those responsible for internal investigations are often unaware that the obligation to preserve documents can arise prior to the commencement of litigation. Under federal and many states' laws, the duty to preserve documents is triggered at the moment a party is could reasonably anticipate litigation. Yet, even if the reading of the law is correct and no obligation to preserve has yet been triggered, sloppy handling of electronic data in the early stages of an investigation not only leads to less effective investigations, but it can increase the legal risk should the matter eventually evolve into litigation, and if there was spoliation or oversight in the early investigation that could open up avenues for claims of spoliation or negligence in litigation. Next slide. By offering our clients Zilab in the cloud on a subscription basis, we've been able to provide the cost savings and predictability that makes conducting proper electronic discovery on even the smallest investigations not only possible but attractive. We've removed the process friction of project-based electronic discovery and empowered not just legal and compliance departments, but also audit and human resources to initiate eDiscovery immediately, either on their own or with a simple call or a web form submission. It's our experience that even with automation of defensible processes, many client stakeholders require assistance in identifying potentially relevant data, handling exceptions, customizing review environments, and supporting outside counsel. Our solution provides the control and interconnectiveness of an on-premises solution and the support and service of a traditional hosted solution, all with the cost savings of a scalable cloud-based infrastructure. Our clients have realized up to 70% savings on their annual discovery spend while still having around-the-clock support and are able to complete their investigations in hours or days instead of weeks or months. Next slide.
Yep.
The Zilab's integrated processing and review platform offers functionality that's proven very advantageous to our clients' internal investigations. The ability to collect documents and email directly from Office 365, Exchange, and many other data sources allows for quick collection without notifying the end user. Also, because processing and review are part of the same integrated platform, data is available in review as it's being processed. There's very little wait time between the time you collect the data and the time you start seeing it in review. And that's especially important in an internal investigation, unlike a traditional litigation review, where you're really looking to find those needles in the haystack, those smoking guns, rather than linearly reviewing and marking for responsiveness each and every document, rather than waiting for a set of documents to all be completely processed and available. You want to start getting in there and looking at what you've got as you get it. And so this integrated processing into review, feeding the documents and making them available in review as they are processed has been very helpful. Zilab's superior pattern and number searching has also proven especially useful for internal investigations. Because numbers are tokenized in a separate index, they're recognized as numbers wherever they appear in the document's content, allowing the user to search for number ranges anywhere in a document, not just in number fields. This has proved exceptionally useful in a lot of internal investigations. I can think of one recent foreign exchange fraud investigation where this has helped us quickly find bank statements and transactional records that showed a pattern of an employee making unnecessary foreign exchange transactions to churn bank fees for which he was getting kickbacks from a corporate promoter at the bank where the currency swaps were made. The ability to look for specific ranges of numbers within patterns of other words to really allowed the investigators to cull through hundreds of gigabytes of data and really narrow in and quickly find those documents that are most useful for their investigation and making a determination of whether anything inappropriate was taking place. Also, Zilab makes it very easy for in-house and external resources to collaborate, making it easy to document evidence and getting that into investigation reports. Next slide. All right. In addition to another example I want to talk about is Antitrust. A cloud-based subscription to Zilab is not just appropriate for smaller matters. The solution can scale to very large matters with terabytes of data, and it can do so at significantly lower cost than traditional service models. In a recent example, one of our clients was embroiled in an antitrust case brought by a foreign government, which led to subsequent civil suit in the United States. The discovery for the response to the government investigation was conducted by a traditional outside vendor. Because of the high processing and monthly hosting costs, the client asked us to propose a solution. So for the civil litigation, we provided Zilab in Microsoft Azure on a monthly subscription basis, flat. There is no additional cost to migrate that data that was previously collected or to import the prior productions or to process the additional data that had to be collected. We ended up with over 3 terabytes of data, next slide, and the client realized nearly 70% savings over what they had to pay the prior vendor. Next slide.
Yep.
And then as a third and very different use case scenario, so we've talked about how this can scale down and support and make possible discovery on even small internal investigations, as well as scale up to very large antitrust matters. Another different use scenario that we've found Zilab to be, in the cloud to be very helpful for is in document repositories. One of the biggest and often overlooked expenses of eDiscovery is the amount of recollection and reprocessing of the data that occurs. For many companies, the same data is relevant for many different matters. You have this with a lot of manufacturers where, you know, there could be product liability litigations that are brought, and you have to go to the same sources, the same employees, the same application, you know, data repositories to provide that information for these different product liability cases. We had one client that had certain custodians and data sources that were pretty much perpetually on hold, as they would be relevant for nearly any product liability case brought against them. And what we found with a lot of our clients, we start doing consulting at a very high level with information governance. We sit on the information governance committees of some of our clients. We've done consulting, and a lot of times where we first start to look, if they have you know, legal billing software, we look through the legal billing records and look for areas where there's opportunity to have more effectiveness and efficiency and realize cost savings. And we found out that they're sending out the same documents again and again to regional and local counsel. And this kind of has a effect where that will, you know, it'll keep on growing. You keep on sending out the document to counsel. They are then going to be doing additional processing with it, additional productions, and you just get this snowballing effect of repetitive, redundant discovery being done. Not only was this costing them a significant amount in eDiscovery spend, but it also creates risk. Plaintiff's counsel, and I actually started my career on the plaintiff side, you know, looks at what has been produced in prior matters. There are, you know, a lot of this is public. There's databases, there's plaintiffs' organizations that share discovery, and if they, you know, and many times the same plaintiffs are bringing a lot of the same cases, so they can just look at records produced in prior matters brought against the same client in a similar litigation. And if they see a relevant record that was previously produced in another matter, in a prior matter, but not produced in the current matter, well, then they can leverage that to create costly discovery on discovery. And so we were able to help this client make a central repository of documents collected and produced for these kinds of matters. And what Zilab allows us to do is to process all of that, and we can even automate for certain sources that as new documents are added to that source, they're automatically ingested into Zilab and made available for review and coding. And we can have multiple matters that are using the same documents, so we're not having to reprocess or duplicate the data that, you know, in terms of hosting charges and the time to reprocess all of that. You just process it once, but you use it in multiple matters, so the outside counsel Now, by taking control of that and making outside counsel do their review in their Zilab infrastructure, outside counsel's work product is completely separate from any other counsels, but we're not having to reprocess and redundantly redo the data. And we also have the ability to know, you can look at and have the in-house counsel can have a high-level view of all the matters in the work product that's being done, the discovery that's being done, and all other matters related to those documents. So that helps them not only save a lot of money, but also to de-risk the organization and just make their e-discovery processes much more effective and efficient. So those are just three use cases that just provide a few examples of how our clients have leveraged our cloud-based Zilab offering to take control of their e-discovery spend. I'd like to now turn it back to Kaylee. Yep. Johan and I would be happy to answer any questions that the audience has.
Yeah. Okay, Kaylee.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. We do have some questions. One question is, how much control does a case admin have over object security permissions for different user groups?
Yeah, I'll take that one. And that's actually a very good question. We have, as our software originates from on-premises installations, we have very, very detailed and very flexible permission mechanisms, which allows us to define not only data permissions based on users and user roles and user groups, but we can also do it on functionality and also on documents and different components and types. And so you have like extreme flexibility to define permissions and protect data and make sure data is not seen or viewed or edited by people who are unauthorized. Yeah.
Perfect. Next question. Does your email threading use the Microsoft Conversation Index field?
Okay, that's a very technical one. Yes, it does, but it's not the only source, and this is probably the reason why the question is asked, because sometimes the Microsoft Conversation Index field is not reliable, or it's missing, or it's changed for various reasons. So we look at these fields, but we also look at the content of the email and other sources. And we built our email threads by using a variety of different sources in order to determine if there are emails within the thread that are missing. But we would love to give you a demo and to show you in full detail how this works.
Another question. If users attach to the platform via Azure VMs, isn't this very expensive?
Yeah, that's a good question for you, Paul, I think.
Well, no, so what helps really control costs and why putting this in Microsoft Azure is very attractive is that you're only paying as you're using it. So, for example, processing, we can just completely shut down the processing nodes. We can power up or power down the size of the machines based on the needs of the client. So it allows us to realize a lot of great cost savings over traditional approaches where you would have to be keeping these things running all the time. We have a great amount of control and granular control to control the size and use of the Azure resources. And we can automate a lot of that as well.
Yeah, and I've heard exactly the same. It's really much more cost effective, especially if you have a lot of data because storage is very, very low cost. You have to be a little bit careful with processing, but then, you know, like you said, Paul, processing is something you do once, and storage is something you do forever. So that's why it's very cost effective at the end of the day.
Excellent. Does this model or software work for the garden variety civil litigation case that may only involve a few thousand documents? Is the subscription cost effective for cases of that size?
Absolutely. I mean, we have law firm clients that use it exactly for that, and that's where the managed services can come in as well. So, especially for small matters, the for if you're dealing with native documents, the upload utility that was shown earlier in the presentation, you know, that's ideal for a small matter. You just have to upload a bit of data. But you know, if you're dealing with you know, other sides' productions, and anyone who's been in litigation support knows that, you know, there's always going to be, you know, some inconsistency or issue. You have to really look out, make sure the load files are correct and all of that. You know, we can provide that layer of managed support to get those loaded into the tool, you know, immediately as well. So we do have clients that do use this for lots of small civil litigations.
Yeah, no, and I see that also, and actually we see that a lot of cases start small, and you know, you never know if a case is going to be a large case. So we have a lot of our clients that use this for almost all of their cases, and then the solution that we have in our SaaS environment, or the ones from Global Colleagues, scales up to all these for these whenever a case becomes very large, but it also works great for a few thousand documents, because you know, even a few thousand documents you can use our very strong search and analytics on this. It will allow you to even deal with those much faster than having to browse through them all the time. Yeah.
And I'd also just add there as well, we talk a lot about the functionality that helps with big data. But you know, what we've seen in the past is people would do initial review and early case assessment in one tool, then put in something like concordance for the attorneys to do their final prep, you know, review. The great thing about Zilab is that its review interface is very user-friendly, very attorney-friendly. It's tagging logic, you know, it's only showing the tags that you need at the time, very easy to get in there with very little learning curve. So even for, you know, your simple, smaller, linear reviews, it's still an excellent choice.
Good. We have a lot more questions. This is a great one. How much control is available for processing? Do I have to work with a PM or consultant for everything?
Should I take that one?
Yeah, you start. Yeah.
Sure. You can have full control if that's what you want. We'll give you access to the processing interface, like the review interface. You can have matter-based controls so that only some members of your team are able to access and do processing in some matters, and you know, or you can have somebody with access to all of them. The processing interface is fairly user-friendly compared to many other tools, and it's all part of one product, so you've got that audit trail. If you want certain customizations or help with exception handling, we're there to help. It's really, you know, it's really a matter of how much you need. So yes, you have the ability to process data yourself. Yeah, we'll probably do some consultation in the beginning just to make sure that we have all the pre-configurations to handle the majority of your matters, so that most of the processing is going to be pretty straightforward. But if you do need the help, or if you're you know, find yourself overloaded with work, you have that support and managed services available as well.
Perfect. Another question, what are your production formats?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah, we can do PDFs, searchable PDFs, TIFFs, text, EDRM, XML, native, you name it, and we can do it.
And of course, concordance.
And concordance. Sorry, yeah, forgot about that one.
Okay. And is there assistance offered for collecting data, such as that found on mobile phones, emails from yahoo.com, etc.? How would I get this data gathered for input?
Yes, there is. And again, that's why the hybrid approach is so attractive to many of our clients. So, yes, there's some sources, Office 365, very easy to collect from. You can do it yourself if you want. But we can also provide assistance with collecting mobile devices, laptops. When we're working with many of our clients, we try to work with them to find, you know, a lot of clients are moving to cloud-based backup solutions, and we try to work with those. But, you know, there's going to be times when you have to go old school, and you're going to have to go and you know, take an image of a laptop, and we can help with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. What are your support hours? Is support available 24/7?
It can be, yes. Part of that's negotiated, but we certainly have resources available around the clock.
Perfect. And do you have any kind of training or certification program?
Yes, we have training, and we have. We also we're going to do this very soon. Where for our clients we try to do the training as much as possible through videos. So we have an e-learning portal where you can actually go to a number of training sets. We're going to roll it out very quickly. Yeah, most of our users, especially the review users, they don't need a lot of training. But like Paul said, our software is very intuitive, very user-friendly, and so that kind of more or less explains itself. With respect to yeah, the production, very detailed productions, or maybe some of the itty-nitty work you want to do in processing, we can provide training there, and a lot of it is also in the videos. We do not have any certification program. Yeah, most of our users just use it, and so you don't have to go to a certification to be a XiLab user. Like I said, it's very easy to use, and we've tried to automate as much as possible. We don't want to complicate things, make it harder than it is. And if you are a certified ASETS eDiscovery specialist, then you know what eDiscovery is about, and then you will probably very easily understand how our software works, because we use exactly those types of terminology and processes as you learned about in your ASETS certification in our software.
Perfect. Thank you, Jan.
I'd just like to add to that for global colleague clients that are using the solution, we provide unlimited, you know, training and support. So it's not, we don't just go in there and, you know, stand up the solution, give a training and walk away. You get new attorneys joining, you know, to set up a time, we'll train them. It's just part of the subscription.
Yeah.
Excellent. We have one last question. Can we add user-defined fields, help with privilege lists? Yes.
Now, when you're setting up a matter, you have the ability to customize it. That is something that that's a good example of where having recourse to us to provide some additional support can be helpful, but it's very customizable when you're setting up a matter. For most matters, you're going to have a basic template that you're going to use, and in that you can have placeholders for user-defined, you know, tags and fields. But if you have that occasional, wonky matter that really needs a great deal of customization, we're available to help you with that.
Excellent. Thank you so much to our eDiscovery community who came and learned more about Zylab and Global Colleague and their exciting product. We thank you so much, Zylab, again, for your Platinum Affiliate sponsorship and for your webinar today. We had lots of great questions, and if you do have any additional follow-ups, please don't hesitate to reach out to learn more. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.